31st July is not an ordinary day and month for every Pdois member in particular and the citizenry at large. It is a day when a group of Gambians saw the vacuum in the political architecture of the state and decided to take their decision to do what all human beings must do to add value to their society. Every human being has a contract with destiny. If we fulfill the contract, we are absolved by history. If we breach the contract, we are condemned by history. Those who establish Pdois and those who are members of Pdois have made the decision not to breach their contract with destiny, but to be ready to live and die for their people. It is important that on this day that we address the membership and the citizenry on the urgencies and demands of our moment. The very reason why Pdois came into being after a declaration was made by the head of state that they had serious economic problems requiring a move to address the urgencies of 1985, when the country was faced with food shortages, currency depreciation, general entanglement that increased the suffering of the people. It was very clear that those who control state power had not addressed the needs and aspirations of the people. And something was necessary to be able to do that. And Pdois was determined to begin the process of building a country that could address the needs and aspirations of the people. It is love of country and people we gave birth to Pdois. It is love of country and people that has maintained Pdois with consistency to continue to add value to changing mindset and preparing the Gambian people to become a sovereign people who could be the architects of their own destiny. Many, many people have died, and they died in poverty, after being born in poverty and living in poverty, growing old in poverty, and eventually perish in poverty. Pdois is convinced that that fate is not the fate of a human being. Even other animals incapable of being the architect of their own destiny would not want to live and die by suffering. Suffering is not something that the Gambian people deserve. And this is why we have, through the years, looked for the ways and means through which we can change the destiny of our motherland. And we had one discovery when we came into being, that the vast majority of Gambian people did not know what they owned, did not know how to protect it, did not know how to entrust what they own to people who would preserve it and ensure that they live in liberty, dignity, and prosperity. The politics of the time gave the impression that individuals can actually save people from poverty. And they continue over the years to keep the people ignorant and make them believe that certain people with the wherewithals would be able to finance them to be able to eradicate their poverty. And consequently, the politics of patronage became entrenched in the Gambia. And every political party that emerges, every political personality that emerges, is told that unless you can bankroll your campaign, you will never ever take charge of the destiny of the land and guide the people. We have demystified the politics of patronage. We have educated people to understand that this pocket, even if you give $100 a day, and most Gambians are living on less than $75 a day. If you give $100 a day, those 68% of the population who are living on less than $75 a day would not be able to survive. Because you as an individual sitting there and you call yourself a patron, you call yourself that you are the one who would be able to dig boreholes for people, to give an example of development for people. You know very well that sitting in your room or in your office, if you engage 100 people a day and give them $100 a daily, you are talking about $10,000 a day, you are talking about $300,000 a month. You know that it is a farce to give the impression that individuals would have the wherewithal and they will be able to bankroll those people who are living in poverty so that you can eradicate their poverty. That is the politics of deception that Pdois has struggled since its birth. To make the people to understand that here you are, if an elderly person would go and struggle from sun up to sundown and earn pittance and give those pittance to a family of 5, of 7, all eating from the same bowl, but feeding them to a point that when they grow up, they are able to gain education and ultimately to be able to earn an income that is far above what their fathers earned, what their mothers earned. That is the sacrifice that the nation needs. That the national coffers with all the wealth, sovereign wealth, if it is properly managed like that old man and old woman managed their little income to feed their poor families, the whole nation will be fed by the wealth of the nation. That is Pdois' program. That the wealth of the nation should be the basis of eradicating the poverty of our people. But that is inconceivable until we have the type of system that will make that possible. What type of a system do we need to put in place to ensure that the sovereign wealth of the nation will go back to the people to eradicate their poverty? What type of a system could we put in place to make the people take ownership of power and entrust power to people who will guarantee their liberty and their dignity. That is the fundamental challenge that Pdois was confronted when it came into being. That is the same fundamental challenge Pdois is being confronted today. As long as the poverty of our people has not been eradicated, there is need for Pdois to continue the battle to change mindset, to be able to effect that change. As we address you today, we want to emphasize that this is the beginning of another beginning. This is also the end of the first beginning. Some of us are lucky that we are still here, but time is no longer to our advantage. Our duty is to prepare the ground for those who will have to continue this long march to liberty, dignity, and prosperity. It has been a march, a long march, full of trials and tribulations and struggles. In many instances, different strategies had to be utilized in order to move society forward. All of you should now be clear that those who say that Pdois has been here for too long, what has it achieved? We say, look at 2016, a change that never happened in the history of the country. Before that change for 55 years, the people had no means of changing their manner of government to the ballot box because of their mindsets. Pdois embrace a change that will enable the people to have confidence in themselves, to know that power belongs to them, and that with that power, they can be the architects of their own destiny. But people did not believe in that. They did not believe in that in 1987. They did not believe in that in 1992. They did not believe in that in 1997. They did not believe in that until 2016, when the change was effected. But throughout, people felt that the ballot can never change the power that be, because governments are powerful and unchangeable. That was the mindset. But Pdois managed, year in, year out, to establish all forms of strategies, coalitions, have input in all these coalitions. Instead of just building a party, we were building a force for change. A party can have many members. A party can have many seats in parliament. A party can have a large following. All that is possible. But we discovered from 1986 that as long as the mindset remained, a party, no matter how much the following, as long as it is in the opposition, it will never take over power. And that became a fact. No party had ever taken over power in this country for 52 years before 2016. It was only changed through the barrel of the gun. And we were convinced that unless we educate and then organize, mobilize for change, then change was not conceivable. That is why Pdois concentrated in educating the poor Gambian, knowing that that poor person does not want to live in poverty. It is ignorance that compels the person to live in poverty. And if we were therefore to mobilize that person who has all the power centered in his or her hands for change, then we must change mindset. We must educate, we must educate, we must educate. We must inspire, we must inspire, we must inspire. Then we organize and mobilize, and that is your force for change. Awareness and organization constitute the fundamental foundation in empowering people to effect change. And that is why we were determined to educate. That is why we were determined to organize. We never relented in doing so. And ultimately, we could only achieve the change that was possible, because no person can inherit a society as you please. You inherit a society that is possible at a given time. Based on the urgencies of the times, we saw the need to collaborate with others, to build coalitions after coalitions, coalitions after coalition, so that we will utilize the organized force of the people and with proper direction, effect change. And that's what happened in 2016. Having taken the leap and effecting the change that has empowered the Gambian people to know that power belongs to them, that phase of our history is now over. That is why I have said that the beginning of that beginning had come to an end. A change that never happened had now happened in 2016. People through the ballot box changing their man of government. The beginning now is required by virtue of the fact that the change which occurred did not lead to the eradication of the poverty of the people and the basis of their indignities. That is why a new step must be taken towards this long journey of building a system that will finally eradicate the poverty of our people and ensure that they live in liberty, dignity, and prosperity. That is the new agenda. Many people would say, change has occurred, but what is the meaning? Who will answer that question for you? Those who would want to guide you in the right direction will tell you, yes, a revolution occurred, change occurred. But it's a change that enables you to discover your power. Power that you never believed that you had. Now you know you have it. The power of the nation is centered in your hands. Sovereignty resides in you. But not you alone, is the citizenry as a whole. So you have power, but unless you organize and associate with others, that power will continue to be meaningless. You will continue to appear helpless and powerless and voiceless. There is no voiceless human being in a sovereign republic. There is no minority in a sovereign republic. There are citizens who are embodiment of the sovereignty of the land. And all those citizens are powerful, but only if they collectively organize their power so that it can effect the change that they deserve. 2016 is just the first step towards the final step of making the Gambian people truly sovereign, to be the determinant and architects of their own destiny. We must recognize that step. Those who want to control the people would not want people to recognize that achievement in 2016, that power belongs to them. They will look at the after effect, and the after effect depends on policy. It depends on the system you want to create. This system has not been created because we are yet to put the system right there at the forefront for the people to decide. The task now is very clear. Each Gambian should recognize that the destiny of our land is in your hand. Power belongs to you. Accept it. That is the reality. Power belongs to you. If you are powerless, it is your own making now. In the past, no, because of ignorance. Now, everything is clear. You could remove a government that was seen to be invincible. Now, there is no government you cannot remove through the ballot box. So what is important now is why you should remove a government should be clear to you. If you say that change has not served your interest, then you must ask the question, if I am to cast my vote next time, what purpose should I cast it for? Why should I cast my vote? That is the next question that every Gambian should ask. Why should I cast my vote? So if you want liberty, dignity, and prosperity, then you must cast your vote for those who can convince you that the system they want to bring will give you the liberty, dignity, and prosperity you deserve. Then cast your vote. And if you do not see it, then those people are done for. Because you would have voted for a reason, and if you fail to reap what you sow, then you should give them the lesson they deserve, that you are not made of a stuff where your fellow human being has the capacity to deceive you and survive. So it means that everybody who deceives you will be committing political suicide. That is now the agenda for each Gambian citizen. Pdois is conscious of this fact. And that is why it is launching the 2021 Transformative Agenda. It is an agenda which will show the Gambian citizens what Pdois intends to do differently. And if we cannot convince you that that agenda embodies a transformative agenda, then it is not for us to tell you, but you should convince yourself that those are not the type of people that you should really support. This is the time where the Gambian people must assess what each party has for them and how that will ensure their liberty, dignity, and prosperity. If they do not have the answers, then why give them the chance to manage the affairs of a nation? Those who fail to utilize their brains to make a choice that is fit for them, those people then should be seen as part of the problem of the Gambia. Those who are part of the solution are those who can identify what is fit for them and support what is fit for them. As we commemorate 31st July, I must remind you that this is the beginning of another beginning. We'll be with you for some time, but our own chances have become slimmer and slimmer in being there with you as long as it would have been necessary to build the type of nation that all of us would be proud to bequeath to our children and our children's children. How long we'll be around to play our role, we wouldn't know. But one thing we can assure you is that a human being must live for something and die for something. A human being who has nothing to live for and nothing to die for is not worth being a part of the human race. All Pdois members must be ready for Pdois 2021 Transformative Agenda, which will be launched very soon, before the end of this coming week, in total, so that every Pdois member will take that and participate in an interactive program to add to it. Ultimately, that agenda, enriched by all the experiences and knowledge of Pdois members, will be put forward as the manifesto of the party for 2021. It is hoped that this 2021 transformative agenda will finally prove that this is a party that has answers not only Gambia's problems, but answer to the problem of the continent and the world at large. And should it fall below that expectation, then look for others who can meet your expectation to lead you. It is significant for all of us to remind ourselves that on this earth we can either be mischief makers or peacemakers, and Pdois constitute a force that has always worked to transform society by making people to earn liberty, dignity, and prosperity in an environment of peace and tranquility. That is the opportunity we have as a people and as a leadership that our ancestors did not have. You had the Josina Michaels of Mozambique with a baby at her back and a rifle in her hands. Many of them died so that their children will have better lives. Many never slept. Day and night, they thought of the suffering of their people, and their hearts could not take the bitterness. And their heart, which beat in unison with the heartbeat of their people, had to break, and they pursued death, not because they wanted life or they did not value life, but because they know that their lives were not permanent. They will go, but to die serving the people is a worthy death. Those who die in the service of the people never die. They live in the hearts and minds of the people forever. The work is now yours. Prepare for 2021 Transformative Agenda. And once you have it, Pdois members, move with it and change the mindset of our people so that knowledge will be democratized. And once you know yourself, know your country, and know the world, you will be the architect of your own destiny. Once you know yourself, know your country, and know the world, you will be nobody's slave or fool on the face of the earth. Thank you very much.
Banco, in the country.